Hello, everyone, and welcome to Darachat. I'm just making sure my mic is on. Welcome to Darachat. My name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short. Some people don't know how to say the Moose part, but that's okay. We are here to have a great time, and of course, my guest is uh, getting here, so they'll be here shortly. But how are all of you? I'm glad to see you here all again. And yes, it is a Saturday, and obviously, I don't usually do the weekend unless the person can't do a weekday. So it very that happens on an occasion, but not all the time, right? Because I don't want to be here. I'd like to be able to enjoy my weekend, you know, but it happens. And so the Great Underground will be here arriving shortly. But I hope you guys have had a great week so far. I know, I know it's been a wild week of just ups and downs throughout it, and then you come to the weekend like I just want to relax, and then you're like I got stuff I got to do at home, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do all this stuff, and you're just like, mm-mm, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But yeah, it is what it is for the weekend. But I at least hope you are having a good one because honestly, some weekends feel worse than others, or not. I don't want to say worse, but they can feel sorry, but they can feel like they're not a weekend at all. They're just, a clock into, sorry, a clock into, what is it, break time. And then once Monday comes around, break time's over. It does kind of feel like that. When I started working, I really was more like part time. And then I got full time. And full time has its benefits depending on what job you have. But I have a full time job, and I do this. I'd rather do, and I've said many times over, I'd rather do this than a full time job. But at the end of the day, I appreciate it. I am grateful for it, and it allows me to do this without having to worry about like relying on it for a paycheck. Because, dear Lord, if I were to rely on this on a paycheck, I'd be in the streets by now. That's how bad it would be. I would be in the streets right now if I just relied on content creation, and that would not be that would not be a great time. Oh my goodness. And but yeah, I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for that I have a full time job that has good benefits. And while I wouldn't want to stay with it forever, but that's a personal thing where you kind of have to do things in order to get past that point, right? Like you have to do the stuff in order to not do that. Whether it's making a business, whether it's this, whether it's that, whether it's there's a whole bunch of things. Like I've stated in the past too that if I were to uh, make it well enough on here, I'd still have a part time job because it's fallable. It's all fallable. All of this, it's all fallable. It's like tips. It's like if you've been a waiter or delivered pizza, you rely mostly on tips. And now of course the president has come out saying he won't tax the tips, so that'd be great. I'm sure there'll be other ways of finding around taxing that, but you know how things work. But yeah, relying on tips alone, you had to make good money. And the funny thing is, when I was delivering pizza, you would wear and tear your car out heavily. Like you would just use especially when I did like Uber or something like that, where I did that sort of thing. And it's just like you wear your card out for very little. And it's like the payback is not. It's not really their deal, and that's where the tip makes the difference, right? The tip makes the difference in order for you to do those jobs. But if the tip's not great, then you're just like, I'm calling it. I'm calling it early. And yeah, that's why I can't rely just on this because it's just not possible. Some people can. I know some people can, but you have to be like a bigger audience and all this other stuff, and it's just can be hectic. Like I know I've said before, I know a few people who are doing like to 7 streams. I'm like, no. I may do one more, but there's a point where you have to um, be able to handle it, right? Like all the social media, all the silly stuff is just a mess. And if you can't handle it, it'll overwhelm you, and people will see it. If you can't handle it, then people will notice that as well. It's a very at odds with yourself, if you're trying to do this sort of thing. I know there's some people want to get content creation because they want to create, like not everyone, but some people. And then there's some people want to get it for the fame, for the money. They want to be the next PewDiePie. They want to be the next Mr. Beast. They want to be a next Markiplier. They want to be all this stuff. But the problem, or speed, ice speed. That's right, ice speed. I couldn't remember his name. Um, but if people want to be that sort of thing, and they tend to forget that. You know, they're amongst the ground floor. Very few people even get to that point. You have to be this wacky, weird, yelling, screaming, doing fireworks. Because I think that's how Ice Speed started. Right, was the fireworks in his bedroom. Like it was just danger. Like you have to put yourself in danger, destruction, all this stuff, and it's just ridiculous. And I don't know why. Why do you need? Why would you do that sort of thing? All right. And it's just, why would you do that sort of thing? But hey, you know what? Whatever gets you that money, I guess. You know, if you want to end yourself for some stupid click or clicks, then you know what? Your life is your own, kid. I can't tell you otherwise. And there's a lot of people out there like that. And I'm just like, I'm just here to do this thing, to talk to other people, whether it's to other people or whether it's just me to you. I'm just here to talk to to just have those chats, because it's all easily slips away into the nether realm, and all that jazz. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me yet. He's in the back. He's in the backdrop. We'll still keep going. But yeah, um, it can suck. Life can suck, but you just got to find those things that are worth chasing after for. Because I'll tell you what, man, oh man, it's when you find that one thing you want to do, but everything else is like, no, you got to do this, this, and this. It's a rough fit. Hear you. You're staticky. Yeah, you're still coming in staticky. Yeah. I think something's wrong with your mic. I can't. It's just static. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was about to say you're just coming in staticky, like you're turned to the wrong TV station. It's just like there's nothing showing. So I don't know if it's interference or whatnot, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Um, real quick. No, not a problem. You can do it. But yeah, it's almost like that white noise, right? Like there are people who buy those generators that like make the ocean crash, and then the white noise, sleep, all that stuff. Nothing wrong with it. It's just it's just
How about
whatever.
now? Can you hear us? Is it
Yes, yeah, I can hear you. Yes, much
better?
better.
Okay, is it no longer staticky?
No, you're good. I can hear you loud and clear.
Ah, perfect. Okay, let's enable the camera. Yeah.
Oh, it's a twofer. Nice.
Yeah.
What up?
Oh,
Data 313.
yeah.
A 313. Oh goodness.
Should be enabled.
Let me see. Sorry, we're like figuring out.
No, you're fine. I don't understand it myself. So sometimes either it's like if you're using OBS, that sort of thing, or whatever.
We're just using straight Rumble Studio right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're not like very familiar with it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. There are a lot of people who aren't.
We're still used to OBS.
Yeah, that's a thing right there too. There is one way to try that. If you want to do the virtual cam through OBS, I mean, you could try that as well. I don't know if you. I don't know if you'd have to go out and come back in or whatever. Or there's the last resort I have just in case.
So sorry, but yeah, we're figuring this out right now.
Now, yeah, you're fine. You're fine. It's all technical difficulties. All technical difficulties. We'll just put up a piece of paper next time. It's like saying technical difficulty. We'll play elevator music in the background. But we can still hear you though, so that's the best part.
Okay.
So, but how are you? I know you. We kind of had to change the time because of personal stuff in here. But how are you today?
Oh, so busy.
Yeah, just
Literally just came right from our eye doctor.
busy.
So you can see better now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Still
Still no, we have to wait for our glasses like 2 weeks
Ah,
from now.
oh, that sucks. And it's just
I know.
Try refreshing the page.
Hold on, let me just refresh this really quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, sure. Oh, there we go. And they'll come back. They'll come back. Oh, they're there. They're back. And yeah, well, that sucks. So you have to wait 2 weeks for your glasses. Ugh. It's like Velma without her glasses. Where's my glasses? My glasses. I'm pretty sure you guys have your old pair still, but still that sucks. 2 weeks. Oh, there you are. Now you're on screen. You got it. You got it. We see you. We see you. Look
Yeah.
at that. They have faces now. Look at that. Hey, how are you?
Oh shit! Okay, it's on.
Yeah. How are you? How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
So you're both the Great Underground. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. That's yeah. I thought it'd just be like one person, whatever. And I was like, wait, no. On your videos, you have your face on there, and I was like, oh, so it's a woman that it is, and that's like, no, it's two different people. It's like, holy crap.
It's actually more of us, but
Yeah.
we're kind of like the
The founders.
right. Like we're the ones who kind of run it and do a lot of the legwork. But I mean, everybody
Yeah.
on there who has their music and contributes different artwork and
Yeah.
different things are all kind of part of the underground, you know.
Yeah, well, and I've had Michael Keane on before as well, so I know that there's artists on Rumble trying to make their place on there. So it's a pretty
Oh yeah, he's a painter or something like
yes
that.
he
Art.
yeah he does his stuff. He's also does his art thing. He had the pizza guy on that John Pizza or whatever his name is. He had that pizza guy on, and that pizza guy has been doing art stuff too with like the pizzas and stuff. He did like a SpongeBob or something like that.
Oh.
I'm like, it's a work of art, but I am hungry.
So yeah, my name is Dee Frank. For those who
CD Frank, okay,
don't know, yeah.
nice.
I'm Joe Fabio, but I go as Data313.
Whoa. If you say Joe Fabio, we're getting real old school. It feels real old.
That's my actual name, but
We're getting back to the old days of Fabio, the model. All right.
oh man, don't remind me.
He doesn't like that.
Fabio, what happened to you? It's been so long.
That guy single-handedly made my childhood kind of a pain in the ass. So my family name.
You say your name is Fabio, but you're not the Fabio. It's like, come on, guys. Seriously, come on. But
as a producer, I'm Data313.
yeah, that's fine. That's understandable. But so what got you start doing the indie stuff, right? The indie music.
I mean, shit, we've been doing it a long time, man. I've been a producer for like 20 years.
Wow.
And studio drummer for like 25 years.
Jeez.
And she's just been a singer her whole life. She started like as a kid in church.
Yeah.
And then we just like met over the internet by pure chance many years ago.
Nice.
And just started kind of like working remotely. Like she was up in the Philippines, I was still in Los Angeles.
Ah.
And we just started kind of remote doing, different. We started working together, right? And so then we ended up meeting. And I flew out to the Philippines. We ended up meeting, and then we just sort of like kept going and just meeting more people, kind of bringing them in on this whole thing.
Nice.
And then we started the underground because we just feel like the mainstream industry has failed musicians. It has failed musicians. It's failed lovers of music. It's basically failed. Like they failed at everything except cranking out generic bullshit and making money. So
I mean, as an indie artist, how do you put bread on the table? You gotta make money somehow. And I've known a few. I've listened to a few indie artists too, but not to the extent of like what you do, because you seem to be more maybe.
Whoa!
I see the ceiling. No, you're fine.
cats.
Our cat.
Terrorizing me right now.
but yeah, no,
attention, so we're
No,
gonna get
sorry, go ahead.
no, you're fine. No, it's understandable though, because again, you're not hearing what you like to hear, and so you're just like, I'd rather it's time I stop just listening to this crap and then go out there and do it, because you get tired of stuff after a while, and you just want to make it find a thing that works for you. And there's a lot of more indie artists, it seems, nowadays, especially with the
Oh,
technology
right.
around.
Well, right, and it's like with a lot of the mainstream thing, it's like they're not really interested in musicians,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for me, like I come from a family of musicians. My grandpa's a musician. My
Mm,
both my parents musicians. My brother, everybody in my family is musicians. I come
nice.
from a line of them, and so like I'm talking like disciplined, like very old school studio, disciplined musicians,
Mm,
classically trained in the whole nine. And when they were coming up as artists and musicians in the industry, like there was still the mainstream music industry was still interested in musicians,
mm,
right? And
mm.
now they're not really interested in music; they're interested in like a character, right? They're
Yeah,
interested in like an entertainer, you know.
yeah. It
And
that
shock value.
Yeah, well, that
and
too.
it's a different.
That Yeah. No, and that makes sense, because you have people who it's like candy, right? Candy, sugar, all this stuff. They just want. I mean, what was it? Katy Perry. Of course, you had like the days of like Britney and Christina Aguilera and all this other stuff. You had these people who became just churnouts, right? They just churned out the music
Exactly.
and all this stuff. It's like I wouldn't say meat packer, because it just makes it look worse. It's sort of like it's just like candy. They're just
No,
churning out
you're
candy.
absolutely right though. It's like
Those are probably the right words.
it's like what they have is they have this like this industry machine that like has like one production team, like one
Mhm.
team of like studio engineers, one
Yeah.
team of like fashion advisors, one team of marketers, and one team of like business people.
Mhm.
And what that one team does is basically make the design and music and image and everything for an artist. And
Mhm.
the artist itself is just sort of like this empty placeholder, you
Yeah.
know? It's like they give them what's the joke? I forgot what show it was, where it's like it shows the girl on TV and then her pager goes off and she's like, "Oh no, am I 25 already?" And then like, a couple of guys in suits like drag her away
Yeah.
and then replace her with a new girl like immediately. Like,
That's almost with any industry though, right? That's with almost any industry where you have to have something sweet to look at. I say that in a sense because it does, when you have that stuff, right? When it's either music or gaming or whatever, you do have that sweet stuff where it's just to bring you in, to keep you there, and then it just gets churned out into this other ordeal, and it does kind of feel like that addictiveness that candy gets you. Now, yeah, you could say it, like I know I've heard people say in the past the meat grinder or the meat churn or whatever, but to me, right, when you say that, it feels like candy, because sugar's in almost everything nowadays, right? Like you go to a product at a grocery store, candy, sugar and cereals, sugar and bread, sugar and all this stuff, and it's sort of like music has become, like, at least
right,
the
processed,
mainstream one. Yeah.
right? Like all chemicals and artificial taste, no substance. No real substance.
Junk
Right, and that's kind of what the mainstream is, because, like I said, they're not interested in musicians. They're not interested in developing artists.
Hmm.
They're really just bean counters who
Hmm.
want to
Yeah.
just kind of like make a turnkey operation and just maximize profit, minimize risk, minimize cost.
Hmm.
So they follow these formulas. These formulas that they say, oh, these formulas have worked in the past, so let's just repeat the formula, repeat the formula, repeat the
Yeah.
formula.
Hmm.
And it works to a degree.
Yeah.
However, it also like completely misses the point of what music as an art is supposed to be.
Hmm.
And sure, they'll sell plenty of records and merchandise to a bunch of like teenage girls or whatever, but
Yeah.
the rest of the world is starving for actual music, actual
Hmm.
artists, real people, quality, somebody who
Quality.
doesn't just fit into like a empty placeholder of this industry sort of image that they want to keep pumping out.
Yeah, when you say that, it sort of makes me feel like it's Skittles, right? All the
Right.
colors of the rainbow, all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You can print this or print that. You can have you can have a bag of just mystery Skittles. It's all white, and you're just like, what flavor is this? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it does kind of feel like that, where you're just having a bag of Skittles printed out every time, and it's just for just to keep people onto it. And yes, you're right. There is a formula, and it does work to some degree, but it just Lady Gaga. you have Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, all these ones where it's just sort of this popular deal and hypes you up. It does all this stuff. Yeah.
Right, it's
I
like a bag of Skittles. You might have a few different colors, a couple different flavors in there, but they're all in the same bag, and like they all have the same basic ingredients.
Yeah.
Not sustainable as well.
Right, and they're all junk food, and they're all bad for you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I do like me some strawberry kiwi. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Right. Red is usually my favorite, but
Well, yeah, and there's an artist. You weren't here, but the opening video was music video was done by an artist from Australia. His name is Pogo, and
Pogo.
yeah, Pogo, and he's done Disney stuff. He's done, I think it's called sample music, right? Sample music where you take samples, micro sampling, yeah. And if you look at all his category, I mean, it's still him, but there's something to it. There's some magic to it, at least from my perspective. Because
I like the way he edits the videos too.
Yeah,
like edit the video to kind of go with the loops that he's using and stuff. No, he's dope.
Yeah, and his other channel, Pogo Mix, he does show a bit of the behind the scenes things, like he did for what was it, My Fair Lady, or Expialidocious is what the name of the song is called. But he kind of shows, he takes from the Blu-ray, and he sort of tries to get the highest quality of sound, and he just it's crazy how you have people like that and their stuff. I think what was it? Wasn't not Danger Mouse, but it was Dead Mouse. That's right. It wasn't Dead Mouse. Yeah, wasn't Dead Mouse started out that way?
Old school.
Dead Mouse 5.
Dead Mouse 5.
Yeah, Dead Mouse. Yeah, but
they're very much into microsynth. In fact, Dead Mouse 5, as I call him, and Squirrelex, they kind of like started a lot of that micro sampling kind of stuff.
Squirrelex.
No, I call him Squirrelex because my dad's an old school jazz musician, and he's like trying to get into production, and he's like, hey, you should like make some of them dubsteps, like what's that one guy? What's his name? The Squirrelex. Yeah, that guy.
Just call him that. Just when you see Dead Mouse 5, just call him Squirrel. Hey, Squirrel! It's like, what the fuck?
From that day forward, I call him Squirrelex. It's not a knock on him. It's just it's just how my dad calls it, so it's hilarious to me. So.
Now I'm waiting for Beats Drop by Squirrel. They come to the show by Squirrel. You'll see all this stuff, and that's too funny. But no, it's I don't know if he's. I know he has his own. I don't know if he has his own label or anything, but I do know he puts his music out there, and some of his stuff is. I don't listen to all his stuff, but I've listened to some of his songs too, and they're pretty great as well.
What I know of Pogo is he's kind of doing it sort of, in a very similar way as what we're doing. It's kind of like he's probably figured it out as well. The mainstream music industry, the music business, let's call it, has failed musicians at large. And so now it's on musicians to basically conduct their own business, which in a way is a beautiful thing because now it's like the Wild West of the music industry. There's no longer these gatekeepers.
Have more independence too.
To kind of curate with extreme authority on like who gets a following and who gets the spotlight and who doesn't. Now it's like every artist for themselves, just sort of like drawing and shooting it out in the Wild West of music, and like whoever has the best sound, whoever has the best hustle, not the best, but whoever has the sound that catches people's attention and has a good hustle will rise to the top, and everybody else is just kind of on their own, There's no record labels like putting millions of dollars in to develop artists or anything like that,
Yeah, and also the other thing too is technology consistently is still growing, right? Like you have Pogo uses was it FL Studios, right? Uses FL Studios, and you could do a whole lot with FL Studios. I am dwarfed in compared to even trying to use that thing. I thought I'd try it. I'm not that great.
FL is dope. It used to be called Fruity Loops.
Yes.
Like back then, it was like it was a good program, but it was kind of basic. It was kind of a toy.
Yeah.
And when they dropped FL Studio, they really stepped up their sophistication considerably. Now it's a full blown DAW now. Like it's a professional software now. So it's not what I use, but I definitely respect it.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, you have technology, and then you have platforms, right, where you would have to go through a label in order to get your songs out there. Hey, Steve. But this, yeah, we're doing well, thank you. Um, but now you have platforms, now you have technology. Labels are just, I mean, labels still have some upper hand because they have millions of dollars behind them, but you have technology that can carry your stuff out farther, and most of the time it's free, right?
Right. Well, they have millions of dollars behind them, and
Marketing.
and most
Marketing,
of
yeah.
that goes towards just marketing. Like that's
Hmm.
because you could sell ice to an Eskimo if you have the right marketing. And
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that really makes the labels relevant anymore because they're not putting up money for artist development, so that
Hmm.
is no longer a thing. You
Hmm.
don't need a huge advance to go record in the studio because people can literally just record their entire album in their bedroom.
Right.
So that's not really a thing. Distribution, what the hell do you need that for? We have the internet, there's
Yeah.
tons of ways to distribute music. So, I mean, everything that the record labels used to offer one by one has sort of just become obsolete. And now I
Hmm.
think it's like really all they have to offer is marketing.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Marketing and a
Which
team
you will
of
have to pay them.
right, and of course they're not giving that to you. Like
Oh yeah.
Alone.
right.
Oh
In
yeah.
fact, in the music business, the musician is the bottom of the food chain. Like
Yeah.
once again, like you're the sort of not you, but like the artist in that whole setup is kind of like the most replaceable part of the operation. They're
Yeah.
the most replaceable part, and they probably are making the least out of their music. Is then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only to make
Unless
it more.
unless you're legendary, like say people who've been going since maybe 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that sort of thing.
No, that's a different
Yeah.
ball game.
Yeah.
And they're coming from a generation when they're coming from like the generation when it was still about musicians
Yeah.
when labels were interested in artist development, when they were interested in discovering a raw talent who had potential and then investing millions of dollars into like having grooming them into like a superstar or something like that.
Yeah.
Those days are done now. Those days are
Yeah.
way done.
Yeah. And
Now
it's
it's like they don't talk to you unless you already have a following.
yeah.
And it's like, well, if I already have a following, like, fuck do I need you for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, right,
It's like, screw you then.
right. It's like, they're just trying to come in so they could be like, oh, we think you should Rostify by 15%, and maybe you could change this lyric here so you don't like offend these people, and
Yeah.
maybe get a haircut.
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, even that was back in the day too. So don't get wrong in that. But
Right.
so how long have you been out in the area you've been out? Because I know you said you were from LA, and she was from the Philippines. How long have you been out in the area you've been out? Because I think it's Las Vegas, right? That's in your bio.
Yeah, now we're in
I'm
Vegas.
from Las Vegas now.
Wow.
I grew up here. I mean, but I didn't live here for most of my adult life, and then we came back. We both came back together in 2020.
Oh wow.
So we're basically California refugees. You know?
You just left California behind with everything else.
Should have done it sooner.
Should have done it. We did make it out of time, but man, every day we were out of there, we're just like, why the hell were we there? Like, what was the point of that whole freaking nonsense? Like,
Yeah, but when they make an app that finds where crap is at, that's when you know. That's when you know.
Right. I mean, it's so expensive there, and I mean, it would be one thing if it was like a New York or something like that, where it's like, yes, it's expensive, yes, it's crowded, yes, it's dirty, but like at least there's a reason to be here, right? Like there's a culture, there's a nightlife, there's something to do, especially for musicians. You need that, right?
Right.
LA is like all of those dirty, expensive, crowded things, but like there's just nothing to do. Like
closes early.
Right. It's like I can watch TV somewhere else at my home, like a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. and
especially with the pandemic hit, and it was like
yeah, that too. And but yeah, my gosh, living out in Las Vegas is not an easy gig because it is hot out there.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I have some family members who live out there, and it's no joke. They tell me over 100 degrees at times. I'm like, look, I'm already burning up. Just cool it down.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. I mean,
just today.
really, it's like about 3 months out of the year that it gets really brutal. Like a couple weeks ago, we got hit with a heat wave.
Oof.
And it
120.
was around 120 to like 123 degrees for like a couple weeks here.
It was painful.
It was brutal. Yeah. But I mean, that's like the worst of it, though. Like, again, it's like a couple months out of every year, it's nasty, and then for the rest of the year, it's actually quite nice.
Oh, that's good. I mean, because I live in Indiana, so there's that temperate sort of thing where you get humidity, and add humidity with heat, forget it, right? You're sweating, but you can't cool yourself off because of the humidity.
Sweat in the shower.
Oh yeah, sweat. I'm already sweating a shower. That's how bad it gets. People say you should get cleaned up. I just took a shower a minute ago. Okay.
Right.
Jeez.
I have to shower to wash off from my shower in places like that.
So that you've moved up to Las Vegas, like what does Las Vegas offer you in the difference to California, right? Because nightlife.
Oh man, it's well, for one thing, probably the most basic and first reason I came back here is just because this is my hometown.
Right.
I do have a lot of family and friends here, so I mean, there's that.
Nice.
Old family and friends from like childhood,
Nice.
But aside from that, I mean, Vegas is literally one of the, if not the most happening town in the country.
24/7.
24/7 town. There's always stuff to do. There's always something going on. Kids everywhere. It's growing like crazy. Everybody's coming over here now. Tons of people moving in. The town is growing at like a rapid rate.
Yeah.
And it's just there's just always something to do here. There's always something going on. It's just especially for a musician, it's a very happening place.
Nice. Well,
it provides more stability too.
Right, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper than LA.
Way cheaper.
Really?
Not cheap by like national standards, but definitely cheap compared to LA. Affordable by
like gas in LA is what, like $6 now?
It's around $7 in some places.
Yeah, 7 and some. Here it's still like what, $3.40.
Here it like ranges between like 3.5 to like 4 something.
It's
still expensive.
Yeah.
It's up everywhere though.
Yeah. It's about the same around here too. It's around like 350, 360. But that's great. I mean, it's a shame that because I imagine you moved out to LA for the music scene as well. But it's a shame when a state itself fails its citizens and you're left up. Yeah, you're left having to pick up the pieces, and it's not cheap either, right? Like you have to plan stuff out. You have to find the place. You have to make sure that place is good to go. If it's not good to go, you have to look again. It takes.
Getting out of there was expensive, and I think that's why a lot of people are still there. It's not that they wouldn't leave; it's just that it's like they can't. Like,
it was hard. Yeah, it was expensive.
It was very difficult. Like,
we got lucky.
Imagine if you have like kids and a job, and you're like, well, shit, how am I just gonna like upend and just like leave? What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? Like, we got lucky; we were able to leave. Not everybody, I think, was in a position to, or else you probably see a lot more people getting the hell out of there.
You see like this wave of cars, like, what the heck's going on over here?
All California.
No.
It's also funny too, because here in Vegas, it's like you have like the sort of general attitude is it's like, go home, California. We don't want you here. Like.
But if you're cool.
Yeah, if you're cool, but like just in general, people just have this attitude where they're just like they got like a chip on their shoulder about Californians coming here. Like, I saw a license plate that said like GOBK2CA.
Yeah,
go back to CA. Like, people don't like it, and I get it, because Vegas is based compared to California.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same I've heard for Texas too, right? Because people would move to Texas and Florida. Same thing is like they don't want the California mentality, because that's what's caused California as it is.
Right.
And
particularly in the political realm, yeah.
And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not for any politics at any matter. I just don't care, because there are other things. Life's too finite, and we argue too much. My point is that my point is that the people in the state, wherever they are in the state, they set them. Well, then you have the celebrities too, right? All the celebrities that live there. You have these people who set that thing up because of whatever decision brings to the point. And then you have people like, the governor of California, not the previous one who was like the governor of California. That was so better.
Governor.
I have come here to take them out. No.
Screw your freedom.
I think people miss that governor rather than this governor. That, to be honest.
Oh, I think so.
Believe it or not, he was actually better. And when I say the politics, I don't even necessarily mean like the politics of the people. I mean the fucking politicians themselves are criminals. It's a criminal syndicate that runs California. So like you got Governor Newsom, who
Nobody likes him.
who nobody likes, and so it's kind of amazing how he ends up still in office, right?
Both left and right don't like him.
He happens to be the nephew of Nancy Pelosi.
There you go.
There's the reason right there. There's why he's still in.
And then they happen to be and then they happen to all be tied in with the Getty family, which is like out there. And the Getty family, well, who are they? That's fucking mafia. Like it's basically the mafia runs it, and of course it's corrupted shit.
Yeah.
Like I remember we took a trip to we took a trip to Mexico one time. We drove there, and it was funny because like all through California we're on these like dirt like 2-lane roads with potholes and shit. And it's all
goodness.
And then we're driving, and finally we can see a sign that says like "Welcome to Nevada." And as soon as we hit Nevada, it expands into like this smooth like 4-lane highway, well lit. 5-lane, well lit highway, like freshly paved, and we're just like, oh, okay, we see what's going on here. Like,
goodness,
what? And that's what it is. And you have this state full of like artists and potheads and fucking musicians who don't know shit about politics. They just don't know shit. They're very emotional people. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're very like artsy fartsy, feely. They're not thinking in terms of like fiscal responsibility and fucking conservatism and things like this. They're just like, yeah, man, let's be groovy, like. And of course these people don't know shit, and they're out of their element when it comes to politics, and they get sold a bunch of lies, and they think, like if we vote for these people, then we're gonna have like diversity or something and
free stuff.
Basically, what that is like code.
We're gonna get free stuff.
Right, we're gonna get free stuff, man. Hell yeah! And then like what that is basically code for like
we're gonna tax the shit.
We're gonna tax the shit out of you and not get any of it back. Right. So.
Pay 13.3 tax on top of the federal tax.
Mm-hmm. There's a paying taxes tax out there. Like.
They might as well just send you to prison for that one, because that is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think for a minute there they were floating the air tax out there, where they wanted to tax.
There is air tax.
Oh, no,
there is for real estate. There is air tax.
Oh, okay. You're talking about for owning the air above your house, right?
Yeah,
there is a tax for that.
What? There is a tax for that.
No, I meant like the air is in like the air you breathe tax. Like they were trying to tax like air quality or something.
That's even worse. That's even worse.
It's wild. It's wild out there. Yeah.
You know what? It reminds me of Spaceballs. That's what it reminds me of. Spaceballs. They have what? You can't own the air at all. I don't get.
Not in California.
Apparently in California. Well, no, and actually scratch that. In California, you're right. You cannot own the air because the governor can though, because the government owns it, and
they think
they've rented out to the airways.
Goodness, they think they will until the meteorite strikes them, and then they're like, "Well, you guys can have it." And it was like,
right. And then the people are just like, we want to be groovy, man. We don't like racism and stuff, man.
Which is okay.
Therefore, we should pay more taxes to end racism or something. I don't know. I don't get it personally. They think like if they just like hand the government their money, then like all these problems will be like away.
Disappear.
Right. Like they get because they're just artists. Just like artists aren't good at business and they always get screwed over by the record labels. Same shit. They don't know shit about politics. They don't know shit about economics. Yeah. So they get screwed over by the fucking politicians, and that's why the place sucks ass.
Nobody really has a time to pay attention as well, because they're busy working 4 jobs a day.
Right.
Yeah.
And but the time they get home, all they do is watch TV.
Right. Maybe if they're lucky, they get like 30 minutes of CNN on while they're getting ready for work, and all they
do. Or a late night show.
You know what I mean? Like, or Bill Maher, right? They're just getting their opinions fed to them, and it's like that's all it is, man.
They should call CNN the Crack News Network, because they're getting it all the time.
I like that.
Cartoon News Network.
Oh, okay. We got a question for you. Gene Jake asked, "How have you been?" Because I'm guessing they're asking you. I don't know if they're asking me. I'm just bringing it up.
Hello, Gina Jake.
Gina Jake.
Been great.
We've been good. We've been busy.
No complaints.
Well, I'm sure you could complain, but then you'd be like, "Please, dear Lord, I don't want to go back to California."
Right.
That is the one thing we're grateful for.
Oh no, I can complain. playing? Oh, whoa, how much time you got, buddy?
We can go all night. We can go all night if you need to.
But but I choose not to. Is all.
Yeah. Now that shows self-control. That's a real artist right there. They show self-control. It's not like the Jim Carrey, where he's just like just throwing stuff down on there or whatever. I mean, he is sort of an artist, but I don't know if I call him a real artist. He's an artiste, as they would call it. Yeah. Because I remember, way back in the day, they call that sort of stuff avant-garde, right? The avant-garde.
They still do to this day.
Yeah. Actually, I like Jim Carrey's actual art that he does now.
Oh, the painting.
I like his actual visible art that he does better than most of his movies, honestly.
Don't let him hear that; he'll find you.
Hey, Jim, let's go.
But
Jim's cool. He's all right.
Yeah. Again, part of the reason, as you said, is the people there. But then again, it's sort of like big children. Big children just want free stuff. They don't want to think about being responsible, but they want to have the items that will just. It's just like it's like parents giving them allowance. That's what it is. The government, the parent, giving them allowance.
There's also a certain culture there. First of all, you have your Hollywood culture, which is basically, like you said, adult pretenders.
Yeah. They get paid well for it, though.
Right. Fiction capital of the world. Well, I mean, the ones that make it do, sure, but it's also kind of a meat grinder for everyone else.
Yeah.
But, it's right. A lot of artists, people who don't want to grow up, and then there's also this this sort of culture of everybody has to try to act like they've already made it. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants
to. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, right? Mm-hmm. If you go out, it's like everybody's an artist, everybody's a musician, everybody's an actor, everybody's
related to Brad Pitt.
Right. Everybody's somebody important, and you all want to try to put it out there, but it's nobody can actually afford that lifestyle. So
yeah, I wouldn't want to either.
Real job,
Yeah, it'd be with that kind of lifestyle, it comes with issues. But Gene, they're musicians. What type of musicians? Indie music, sure, but it's what's the genres you work with in music?
I'm more. I write more soul and R&B stuff, neo soul.
Nice.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like a mercenary of musicians. You need me on your team. I can pretty much do whatever you need me to do.
But you do have your own album too.
If left to my own devices, I like trip hop.
Nice.
Hip hop, kind of more electronic, but kind of soulful. Not like EDM or something like that, but like old school hip hop.
Freestyles. Gianna Jakes
freestyles.
No, I'm not a freestyler. No, I'm not a rapper. Per se.
But,
I'm a producer.
Could you try though? I want to see. No, you don't have to.
Oh, jeez! Come on!
I don't know. Y'all might be embarrassed for me if I did that.
I'm working up the street all day, night. I'm going out till I'm getting it right. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna work that well.
That's a good one.
That's where I dropped. I really dropped the piece. You dropped the mic. It's what? That's it. It's that's all I have. I don't know what to do.
Well, and that's the point of the Great Underground, in my opinion, is it's we have this little community of artists and musicians. Me, I can't freestyle for shit.
Right.
There's a couple of guys in the crew who are pretty formidable at that.
Oh yeah, Frog One.
We got Frog One is great at freestyling. He's probably the best freestyler in the crew right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, they used to do shows like rap battles, right? There was I can't remember who it was, but there was there's the celebrity guests, whatever, they come on and they try to rap battle each other or whatever. Or there's that one channel on YouTube that does the history rap battles or whatever it is. I can't remember it. But yeah, if you have fun with it, right? That's the whole point. If you have fun with it, it doesn't matter if you fail or not. It's just you had fun with it and you go back, sit down and enjoy the rest of the night. But if you try to do it for real as a way to earn money or whatever, I feel like you're going to hit yourself harder when you fail than you would if you just had fun with it. Because when you're just out there to have fun with it, you fail, it's okay. You doing it for business or the money or whatever, you're and all that stuff. And that's no point.
It's very difficult for me to take up the microphone because I grew up as a kid with some of like the fiercest freestyle rappers like on the planet.
Yeah.
And it'd be like if you grew up wanting to play basketball, but like your best friend was Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like maybe I should stick to what I'm good at.
And that's fine. Oh, Gina Jake says I am also an artist, but I ain't a rapper or musician. Well, there you go. So you must be a painter or something like that. That must be interesting. But I mean that's understandable though, because even Michael Jordan went out and tried to play baseball. He tried to play golf
That's
and do
true.
all this. Yeah. So and he didn't do very well at that either. But the thing of it is you're not a basketball player shouldn't be going out there to be the next Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. They should just be a basketball player. Be if you enjoy a digital artist, okay. So they do digital art. Well, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But you should if you're gonna be in that if you're gonna be a basketball player, be a basketball player. Enjoy the game because again, the older you get in the game of basketball, right, or any sports, right, you start hitting that age point, and you have to be sitting out for a while because you hurt your knee or whatever, and it's stuff like that where it's just you kind of have to take in stride that some things are going to hit and you're going to have to take a step back, but there are other skills to be learned like you do. You said producing, you do all this stuff, and those are skills great to have because if you don't want to be making your own music, again, not saying you won't, but if you don't want to be making your own music anymore, you can produce others and give tidbits and stuff. You can pass on the knowledge, as it were, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of what I've done has just been kind of like the producer for other artists. I've done my own stuff, but I'd say probably more so I've done sort of like taking the ghost role in a lot of other people's work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great too because again, there have been a lot of what do they call it? Not managers, but I guess producers, right? There have been a lot of great producers. Maybe their name is known or not known, where they can offer this artist coming in or whatever great advice, bad advice. You never know, right? You never know. But it's like my greatest example would be George Martin of the Beatles, right? He had some training of his own through comedy albums and whatnot, and he was a very classical player, classical pieces. But he was able to use some of his knowledge to help them in order to produce their stuff, and it just like a kaleidoscope of sound. And there's been other producers that are within some film and fashion that can make their artists greater by giving advice, whatever. And I think that's a point that has to be made for that because I feel like even if you don't make music but you've been in the business for a while and you're producing, you have that ability to become the teacher now. Not like those teachers you hated in school. It's like, yeah, whatever, teach. But the teacher who is willing to pass on this knowledge because again, you can never know how life goes, and it's a helping process. It's paying it forward in a sense.
Well, I mean, a producer nowadays, in the modern context, the producer is like responsible for so much of any artist's sound because the producer is the one who nowadays is usually like engineering the recording, doing the editing, the mixing, the mastering, putting, and oftentimes putting the track together, doing all the instrumentals that back the singer or back the rapper.
Yeah,
making a lot of big decisions for how the sound's going to come out, and but of course the producer usually takes sort of a backstage position and puts the artist in the spotlight.
yeah.
So it's like everybody knows the artists, not everybody knows the producers.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just the nature of the business, right? Because it's not about you; it's about
right.
It's about the sugar.
I actually sort of kind of prefer it that way. That's probably why I haven't worked that hard on my own like solo projects in a long time.
Right.
Because I really don't care to be in the spotlight too much.
Right.
Like I'm more of a backstage kind of guy.
Yeah. So does that mean you're her producer then, right? Like you say, hey,
yes.
Look, you gotta. Hey, look, you're doing this wrong. All right, you got to change it up.
Yes.
Yeah,
actually, that's how we do it.
Yeah, I'm tough but fair.
Yeah.
There you go. Give me 10 laps and we'll go for another round. Come on.
Yep.
Not unheard of, honestly. Like,
huh?
I said not unheard of, my watch. Like,
Yeah.
I could be a little militant in the studio.
Yeah. Sometimes you need it because I can't imagine the egos one has to deal with in that situation, right? Because you're dealing with someone else's ego, especially some puffed up musician who's been so propped up ego wise that they're just like, okay, calm it down, will you?
There are artists who are hard to work with.
It depends, man. It depends. Some artists are great. Some artists are super groovy, and then some of them are nightmares.
Yeah.
I think probably the most nightmare artist I've ever worked with was Doja Cat.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. She was difficult to work with.
What?
Talented as hell, but
yeah. Would you say it's a personality thing, or would you say it's because they are so?
Maybe she's too meticulous.
Oh, meticulous. Okay.
No, the problem with her is she'll change your mind.
Right.
Like you'll spend like the night recording something and you're all hyped on it and we're like, yeah, like that sounds awesome. All right, cool. Like, and then I'll spend the night like mixing it. And I'll let when a producer goes in on a track, like that's like at least a full night, like 12.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like a track on average, like start to finish, from writing to recording to mixing to mastering. We're looking at like a good 40 hours or so of work on one song. And you'll go and you'll put like 30 of those 40 hours in, and then like. Call the next day and just be like, oh, I hate it. And start over. Like, what? Like, I thought you liked it. We agreed that it was cool when you left. It's like, yeah, I listened to it again. I hate it now. Start over. Just get rid of it. Put that out. Like, oh. That kind of shit, like, kind of like quirky artists, like, I mean, I've worked with a lot of quirky artists. Rap guys are like a lot of rappers are kind of like difficult in a completely different way.
Right.
But again, it depends on the artist. You can't just make general statements like, "Oh, all rappers are this way," or "all singers are that way." It's like they're all,
You can't stereotype. You can't really do that stereotype.
I mean, like you can to some degree, but it's like not everybody's going to fit that. And that's the thing is like, really the name of the game after a while for me became learning how to just like find people who aren't toxic personalities to work with and just stick with them. Find people who are good and easy to work with. Not just on an artistic level, but on a business level, on a level of being reliable. And that's why being in a band is a nightmare. That's why I became more of a producer than a drummer, because being in a band is right. Like, as a producer, even with a nightmare artist, you can still accomplish like a lot.
Yeah.
You just kind of, as a producer, you can just kind of like take control of the situation and make it happen. Or if you don't have an artist, you can just make your own shit by yourself with nobody. But then in a band, it's like you have like 5 artists that now you have to deal with.
Yeah.
On an equal, as an equal, not as a producer position, but as like as a peer kind of thing. And it's basically like having 5 ugly girlfriends that don't put out. Like,
now a question I do have is, when you're making music, right? Are you more the digital side, or do you like the analog? Because I know some people like some of that old stuff, but you never know.
I mean, analog undeniably sounds better in a lot of ways, but it's just so cumbersome and not practical to work with. So for me, like I do both. Like digital is convenient, but I found ways to take something digital and maybe resample it through some old tapes or something, or
nice.
Like I've done shit where I'll take like a cell phone charger and I'll like pull it apart and get like the transformer out, put it in a breadboard, and then like run it through that and then record it back in so it gets like that old like transformer sound.
Interesting.
That's all the old mixing boards and shit is just transformers is really what gives it the analog kind of. Well, that's one of the things that gives it the analog sound. So I found ways to like take digital shit and make it analog.
It's the warmth.
Right, it's the warmth, it's the distortion, it's the harmonics and things like that.
The one instrument I like, it's not digital, but it's the harpsichord, right? Because it has that. Just for me, the reason I like it is because it has that sort of tone about it, where it has that sort of. It sounds like a double play from my perspective, right? I know old school, but you imagine
that's funky.
Yeah, and a lot of art, a lot of in the past feature that, but there's also like the difference between there's a difference between a grand piano, an upright piano, a baby piano. It's just funnier.
It's true. Yeah, exactly. They all have their own sound, and I mean they all sound like pianos, but right, it's like there's subtle differences. right? And like, which one do you use? Well, now we're getting into the realm of like what the producer does, like
Yeah.
choosing
Which
sounds.
Yeah, which kind of sucks for you because, and I'm guessing that if it's not a whole band, if it's just one person, you still have to get like the drummer and the bass or whatever is needed to finish
Sometimes.
up. Yeah, to finish out the song because I can't imagine. And for me, it was like, what was it? There was a episode of something where I can't remember who it was being an artist for, but he had his laptop right, and he was just doing all the stuff with it. So he had like it was just himself doing all this stuff for this artist, and you could have so many choruses and all like choirs, sorry, like choir stuff and all this. So it's an interesting factor when you can look at the technology to now, and you can do something like that just from your laptop, which is just insane. But you can't deny that there is a familiarity of warmth to analog stuff, and maybe not all of it, but there's a few bits and pieces spread out.
Well, again, it depends on the project, like for me, like if I'm just one guy doing stuff, there's going to be a lot of digital stuff, but I don't like stuff that's like all digital, right? Like I grew
Yeah.
up in a family of jazz musicians. I myself started as like more of a jazz drummer.
Nice.
So I'm a musician first,
Mm.
and so it's a tight balance of like for me it's a balance of having things digital because basically by the time it gets to you or anybody else
Yes.
on the internet, it's all digital,
Yeah.
right? 100% digital by the time anybody's listening to it these days.
Mm.
So uh, I try to find a balance of where it's like I incorporate as many live instruments as I can. So
Mm.
yeah, I have like my little team of musicians, other dudes in
Nice.
the underground mostly, where it's like you know what, I could program a bass for this with like a synth bass or something, but like you know what, I want to get like a live sound on this, so I'll call up an actual bass player to come down
Mm.
and be like, hey man, I need you to like record a bass or a guitar player or any instrument that I can't play really well. Sometimes I will call and have like a real musician come in because you're right, like there is uh, something for to be said about live music,
Mm.
actual instruments, that human element,
Yeah.
which I think is missing from a lot of music nowadays, and people are starving for it.
Yeah. That kind of goes with that whole sugar stuff, right? It's just the over and over again, this formula and all this stuff, and just print, 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 and that kind of goes along with that faction where you kind of, yeah, it may sound good, but it's just ear candy. I think it's the best way to describe it.
Well, I think a lot of producers, a lot of modern music makes the mistake, and it's a big mistake in my opinion, of making things too perfect.
Yeah.
Like I've seen, I remember back in the day, American Idol, right? They would get all these singers to go out there and compete.
Yeah.
And you got to admit, like some of these singers are like legitimately really good singers, right? Like by the time you're on like the last few episodes of the show, like every one of those motherfuckers can sing really well.
Yeah.
And then they win the record deal, and then they go and they take them and they put them back there. Like, all right, we're going to produce your album now. And when
Mm.
they come out, you hear these singers singing, and what do they have? Auto tune,
Yeah.
auto tune. And I'm like, the whole point of fucking having a best singer, that like a competitively good singer, is so that you don't have to use fucking auto tune. You can just
Right.
Like an athlete almost.
right, like we're talking. These people are like athletes. These are like Olympic athletes of singers, and they fucking put them through. Like, imagine finding the best athletic sprint runner you can find, and
Mm.
then giving them a fucking motorcycle to race with. Like,
Yeah.
why would you know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Like, and it just sounds, you can like fucking hear it. Like, it doesn't sound natural. Like,
Yeah.
and they just like crush everybody's voice with this auto tune. Even good singers, even if you're a
Yeah.
good singer, the criticism is like, oh, if you use people that use auto tune when they can't sing. No, these producers are taking good singers and destroying their fucking human sound of their voice with all this like, thick auto tune, thick
Yep.
compression. Like everything is overproduced.
Yeah.
They overproduce everything. Like they leave no imperfection. They leave no raw ingredients. It
Yeah.
just sounds. It doesn't sound real. It sounds fake. It sounds like digital robot music.
Yeah.
I like
And
to avoid that as much as I can.
right, as best as you can. And while we're at it, there's something I do whenever I have someone on here at the every hour at the top there. I set aside some time for us to promote ourselves. So I tried to put the links I could find at least for you guys, like your Rumble stuff and your Twitter X in the description below. But if you guys want to promote yourself, the floor is yours.
Oh wow! First of all, thank you so much for inviting us
Oh,
over.
thank you for coming on.
So grateful for that. So yeah, our Rumble is The Great Underground, rumble.com/The Great Underground. You can find us on Twitter, The Great Underground, but it's like
pretty much the Great Underground
everything,
on
yeah.
the internet.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
DGR8
Uh,
Underground.
okay.
E.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's limited character.
Well, here in Lowell, we're the like THE
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
Underground.
Um,
Yeah.
we're on Instagram. We might actually need to change our Instagram to The Great Underground because it's still Blue Town Productions right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Handle any of that.
Yeah. Well, you'll find us on Instagram as The Great Underground as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty
And
much
then
it.
I'm Theta313.
Yeah.
So
How
I'm
do you spell that?
Theta.
THETA313, like
313.
the letter alphabet. Which you
Theta.
hear a lot of my stuff on the Great Underground, but then I'm also my own thing.
Nice.
My stuff's on Odyssey right now, mostly.
Oh.
So Odyssey /at Theta313 is where I have a lot of my work. Just kind of
Nice.
posted for people to hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're musicians. The Great Underground itself is just a team of musicians. We're trying to create a scene of not just us, but a whole scene of people who can come and sort of network and get their music out there as best as we can, get in. We're still kind of starting up right now. We picked up
We're
some
still
steam.
pretty new.
We're pretty
Yeah.
new, but we're picking up steam, and we figure like the more people we get involved, the faster we'll grow.
Yeah.
The bigger of a deal it will become, and
Also, so right now we're just the musicians, the artists that are on our stream are like
Yeah.
are just our homies, are like
most
our
of the people
inner
we know,
friends.
Yeah.
But if you're dope at what you do in your music, send us an email, thegreatunderground@gmx.us,
Mhm.
and we can curate it because that's what we do. Curate the music that we play, and then we can promote it on our channel as well.
Yeah. And
in the playlist.
yeah, and don't forget to send me that email DM so I can put that in the description later. That way, people can just click on it. Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome, and that sounds like a it's just a base indie group sort of thing, and that's pretty cool to start out with, especially if you're just building up and trying to catch your feet, especially on the internet. There's so many other people out there. You just like, eh, and all that stuff.
There's no shortage of musicians on the internet.
Oh,
For sure.
oh no, I am not that great, but at least I try. No, you won't see me rapping out in the street, but anyway, but their links, at least the links I have right now are in the description below. You can find them on their Twitter X and the Rumble, and so you can go there and find their. Oh, I did find your. I believe I did find your Instagram one too. Yes, I did find your
right
Instagram.
now it's still Blue Town
Yeah.
Productions. Yeah, but I will change it to the Great Underground.
Yeah, so that's down there as well. But go ahead, and you can find them down there. And of course, for me, guys, if you wouldn't mind, like sharing, following, and leaving a comment here, it helps with the engagement so that I can have more people on, like the underground, the Great Underground, and Recon Rat, and so many other people. Whether it's from Umbro, whether it's from Twitch, it doesn't matter where they're from. It matters that they at least want to be able to come on. And also, if you want to have the opportunity to come on yourself, I have a link tree down below in the description. That's right, down with their stuff, and you'll see it. Go to the link tree, find my links. If you want to come on, just go one of those links and you can contact me there. Simple, easy, and ready to go. Again, guys, the engagement factor helps me in having more people like these two on, and so many others, because I can still get tossed out onto the street, because low numbers and all that stuff. You see me by my hang pants and just toss me out the door. But I do appreciate it all, and thank you all so much. And no, I thank you, because it's not an easy gig when you're trying to go out and ask people. It's like, would you take a chance and come on? And you're like, well, what is it about? And I'm like, well, it's just having a conversation. Like, what is this thing? But in a sense, you guys are doing your own thing. That's a bit like that, because you're starting from that area and going up. And for why I did this was because I followed a lot of different content creators, on YouTube and all this stuff, and they kind of entertainment, and they're talking about this or that, but they're really in their niche area, right? And I just after a while, getting the bravery to do it, start this sort of thing. But it was sort of like, I got tired of just doing that one stuck place. I wanted to go anywhere, and with this, I can't. I've had artists, I've had computer people, I've had so many other people. It's stunning in its own right. But you get to listen to people who have a lot to say about whatever, and it's just a fascination and perspective, really, just a fascination.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Why pigeonhole yourself into one thing?
Exactly.
Same way with music. You can go from electronica to blues to whatever, and your field is open, man. I mean, maybe there's some things that don't work for you, like maybe country, but that's a different subject altogether.
I mean, I like some country sometimes, but it's a little bit outside of the aesthetic what the underground is going for. But you know what? If we find someone who's a dope country musician, come on, like we'll get you on. Like we're not we're equal opportunity around here.
Yeah,
diversity their strength.
Yeah. We're diverse in music, not people. That's a different subject.
Diversity has electrolytes.
Yeah, no, we're really focused more because a lot of people, especially when we were starting before, and because what we also do is we reach out to other artists that we discover and like, hey, we think you're cool. Would you like us to promote your upcoming album and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Some of them are really cool. We have featured them. We have segments that we featured some of these artists, but then sometimes you will come across artists that are like, oh, who do you support? Like political.
Yeah,
they're like, we're not. First of all, that's not our brand. We're here for great music. I don't care what your political stance is. Do you have great music?
Right.
That's
exactly.
it.
Like that's the more important thing. I mean, if you want to know my political stance, I'm an open book. But like that's not what I'm here for.
Exactly. Because there's already a lot of people doing that. That's not really what we're here for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why?
So I'm just like very straightforward to those people who are like, because they asked us that. Yeah. Who you support?
Right. I mean,
great music. That's what we support.
Right. Who do we support? You, if you're dope.
I know.
Oh yeah, that was a line in your bio too. The dopest tracks or something like that. I was like, well, all right, he's using the word. Use the word.
Right. Bringing it back, dude. Bringing it back.
Now he's gonna start saying rad, and we're all gonna be like, yeah, rad. All right, come on.
Like, that's dank. Shit is dank, yo.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's sick. The 90s is calling back and saying, do you want your 56K yet?
Wow, yeah.
Oh goodness. But it's understandable because while you kind of, they ask the question, right, and you kind of respond, but it's like, look, that's not the whole ordeal. Sometimes you have to hold up like this neon sign that says music only, and you're just like,
I know. Especially when they found out that we're on Rumble, right?
Well, I'm not gonna do that either, though, because my whole thing is like, hey, man, if you're gonna let that fucking get in the way of it, like, then that's I'm not gonna beg you, geez, like, like,
but
doors
it
open, walk in, walk out, up to you.
Yeah. But it kind of does reveal a door. But is what is important? Is it creating the music, or is it just being about a political notion or whatever? And that sort of shows you like, well, what is it? Is it creating, or is it just being this weird blob of things? And I think when someone brings it up at the beginning of stuff, that's when it's like maybe
this is not for you.
Yeah, maybe this is not for you.
I mean, I kind of get it because musicians, especially musicians who are not just focused on their music, but also focused on their image and their branding and their networking and all that kind of stuff. And particularly music in general, there's a lot of people who tend to lean left or like completely on the left in music and just the arts in general.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit down with the cancel culture, right? And so it's like, hey man, if like you come out and you're like, yeah, MAGA, red hat wearing, fucking, like they don't want to be associated with that, So I mean, I get why they ask because they want to make sure that they don't like show up on like the MAGA hour, like piss off all their fan base and shit. Like I get it, but like my thing is like, hey man, if you're worried about that, then we're the underground for a reason, man. Like, like we're not the great fucking mainstream. We're not the not the great above ground.
Yeah. You'd almost have to be like, what is it, that one artist, Marshmallow, I think it is, where he's wearing a mask and you don't know
Oh,
what his
that
face looks
guy.
like. Yeah, you don't know what his face looks like. Yeah. And the thing of it is, right, is like I get it, but but again, it comes back to why are you creating music? Why are you creating art? All this stuff. Because there
Exactly.
was there was a, I gotta look up the name. Hold on. There was a I was listening to the radio when I was going to work, and I usually listen to like local music. But there was an artist by the name of uh, Chapeli Rowan,
I've never
and
heard of
the story was Chapeli Rowan. She came out with a song. What was it? What was it again? It was called "Good Luck, Babe." That's the song that's playing out on the radios right now for stuff. But there was a story where she was like, people, her fans are starting to know where her family lives and all this other stuff. And she's like, whoa,
Oh,
whoa, 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 whoa. And she's starting to pump the brakes a bit. So there's an artist who's like, because I haven't heard that of any other artist where they just say pumping the brakes, whatever. She's doing this thing where she's like, look, I'm not in it for the fame. I'm in it just because I like creating music. And it seems like a lot of people who are more worried about what their fans will say or whatever, they
Right.
become less about the music and they become about whatever else comes after that fact.
the
Right,
clout.
right.
They
Yeah.
come out with
Clout
the clout
chasing.
now.
You know?
Yeah.
And I completely understand that. I completely understand where that artist is coming from, because I had like similar moments. You know what I mean? Like I never really like wanted fame so much. Like there, but there does come a time, especially when you're a young man. It's like you're kind of like, oh, okay, I can see where fame might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
The
then
glamour.
right, but then you get a little bit of it, and you're like, hold up, this shit's kind of freaky. Dude. I don't know, like like when girls like start like hunting you down and like talking, like harassing your girlfriend and shit like that. Like it's like, okay, now that was uncalled for.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't want this. Like. So I get it.
It feels like it's like the most expensive alcoholic drink that tastes like the best in the world, and then all of a sudden it turns out that you drink too much of it and you are down for the count. You are just on the floor. No one can help you up. It's all this, and it feels like that's and it's not, and sometimes it's not your fault. It's just the way of how it works, right? The stuff like you use YouTube or whatever, your music spreads out and it just is catchy, people like it, all this stuff, and more people latch onto it, and you sort of had this following where in the beginning you're just like, look, I just thought it was great, I just put it out there, thank you guys so much. It almost feels like a lot of artists forget to bring back to that humility, because not humiliation, but humility, because being humble is, it feels like it's the only antidote to that faction, right? Like being humble.
Well,
And
you have to, man. You have to, because that's the thing. Like you're right. It is kind of an intoxicating thing.
Mm.
I mean, I can get all philosophical about it, but but suffice it to say, like it seems like from my experience, it seems to everybody like, oh, it would be so great to be famous. Like, wow, how awesome it would be to be famous.
Mm.
When you get a little taste of that yourself, or you find yourself in the spheres of other famous people, and you actually get like a firsthand look at what that is, it's nothing like what you might imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're a famous person, like shit's basically the same. You know what I mean? Like shit's basically the same, except like now you gotta like keep a low pro when you go out because you don't want to be harassed. You gotta watch what you say because you don't want to get canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you gotta watch who you deal with because you don't know who's really your friend and who is just like, how do I look with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like, and so there is kind of like a dark side to it as well. I mean, yeah, it's great to have fans and everybody adores you, and like there's definitely a bright side to it, but there's a dark side to it as well. And I think once that whole initial like sort of intoxication of it wears off, realize that like I'm the same as everybody else, like my friends are my friends just like they always were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the people who I don't know, even if they know me, like they don't know me, they know I've put there for them to know. They don't actually know me. So, it's like you realize that how do I say, like you realize that nothing really changes, right?
Yeah. It's sort of like being the Mr. Rogers. You're taking off your business suit and putting on the cardigan, and that's
Right.
what you're portraying. there. But the thing of it is, right, is that as stated, is that it you hear these people who sort of want it in a sense because they want to be the spotlight, right? Like that's what YouTube is. YouTube is the spotlight faction. If you get well known, if your stuff
Mm-hmm.
gets well, you know you can get a bit of notoriety in the sort of the fame sense, but it can be fame can be its own poison when
Right.
it doesn't look
People are
like that.
chasing fame, right? Because they're still caught up with this idea that it's a great thing. Like,
Yeah.
and you know, the people who want fame the most are probably the people who don't yet have it. And
Oh,
then,
good shit.
like, once people get it, then it becomes a whole different perspective on what it is and how to manage it.
Yeah.
Um, like I'm not. It's not that I've achieved any like huge level of fame myself.
Yeah.
But I've just had
Well,
a little taste of it, and that was enough for me. Like that was
yeah.
like more than enough. I was like, you know what? I don't want this. No. Like,
Well,
no.
and I'd put it this way, right? You have plenty of examples of the stories you've heard of just you've had Britney Spears, right? Britney Spears at the top of that, right? You've had stories of well, you could say the Michael Jackson stuff. You could do all these different artists or actors where the fame has just become the poison they're in. And
Right, it's a curse more than a gift, especially when we're talking about like people like Michael Jackson and Britney Spears who never had a real childhood. Like they just
oh yeah, oh yeah.
famous from like the earliest time up, and
Well,
it messes with them. Like
yeah.
it's
Well,
a
you
it's a,
can,
it's a weird mind fuck.
yeah, and the thing of it is, like Britney Spears was in the Mickey Mouse Club, right? And that was sort of a talent agency and stuff. Where I think Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera were in the same Mickey Mouse Club she was. So you
Mm-hmm.
have that sort of thing right there. But it is the sort of thing where again, it's that humility factor. It's that taking that step back factor because again, there are not a lot of artists who, yes, their music is great. They've done well with it and all this stuff, but they don't take the moment to step back and say, is this what I really want to go for? I just want to create music and hopefully someone just has fun with it and it's a great time. But this whole thing for all this stuff that else comes with it, it's like there's a tsunami coming and you're like you're either going to run and hide or you're going to just stand there and let it take you. There's two
Right.
that's
Well,
it.
that brings me back to the LA culture, right?
Yeah.
LA culture is all about fake it. We were talking about this earlier. Fake it till you make it. Everybody wants to be someone. Everyone wants to be famous. And the interesting thing is when you actually know and you're actually close with or friends with, truly famous people, like, and you hang out with them just on any given day, you realize that, like, these motherfuckers are normal as fuck. Like, they're so fucking normal. Like, they're such
Yeah.
normal people. Like, when you know what I mean? And most of this image and this branding and what everybody perceives them as this famous person, most of that is manufactured, man.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example of manufactured fame: K-pop.
Well,
K-pop.
don't forget J-pop. J-pop and
Right.
K-pop are in the same category. Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, like, like we were just at some store earlier. We saw like, they had like a K-pop section, and it was like the same thing. I was like, wow, like all of these people on the albums look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And let's go dip into their lifestyle for a minute. Like, I don't know as much about J-pop, but I know this for sure because I've seen plenty of people doing exposés and stuff on the whole K-pop thing. I mean, that whole K-pop thing, the way they treat the talent in those industries is almost like, I would call it human trafficking at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like, oh, like, you go to their show, they're dancing, they're smiling, you see them on their music video, they're going to like a high school party and having fun and all this shit, and then it's like you see them in real life and they're just like, record label handlers are just like, okay, are you done singing? Get back in your cage now. Like, 25, okay, get out.
Yeah.
You owe us $1,000 for, you owe us $1 million for your contract now. It's like they're not like yeah, they're famous, but like their life's actually worse than most people's. Like,
Yeah. Idol.
More stressful. They have less fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Idol culture in the J-pop faction alone goes to show you how bad it can be. Like that is especially like what was it? BTS. BTS was the biggest K-pop band around. I mean, to America, right? I'm not sure about in Korea alone, but BTS was the big one, and it's just like it does. It's again a manufactured, clone it all sort of thing, and And it just goes back to ear caned. It goes back to that sugar rush you get when you hear that stuff. And then it becomes, is it music, or is it just the young girls screaming for the hot looking boys and all that stuff, or whatever? And
Well, you know, it exists only in the hopes and dreams of the observer. You know, it really is fiction. It's a giant fiction, and that's when when I'm talking about the fake culture of LA, things like K-pop, things like the record industry, that the way that they do things, they're perpetuating this dream in the mind of the observer, but it's not actually there in the people who are really famous. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't actually. It's a dream. It doesn't exist. That lifestyle does not really exist. And even if you do achieve something like it, it's going to feel completely different than what you imagined it would.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as you thought it would be either.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with actors too, right? Like, you don't have actors that are like what was it? James Garner, John Wayne, all these actors that were, they had something that was well celebrated and all this stuff, but it's a time gone past where it feels like it's all just cookie cutter sort of a deal, and there is no, as Christian Sass says, there is no in between, and that's the interesting factor. Is like you are right. You're right. It is the fiction in the mind of the observer rather than things, because what are you're paying millions of dollars to these adult pretenders, and some of them are good. Don't get me wrong. Some of them worked in the craft. That's fine, but not all of them have. It just feels like some of them like nepotism, and some of them just
right. And like whatever you imagine, like your favorite rock star or music star or actor's lifestyle to be, it guarantee you it's not like what is depicted in the music video or anything like that. Now there may have been that in the past, right? Like you have like your Motley Crues and like your Skid Rows and like your rocker guys who now those guys probably did achieve something sort of like that, right? But like when they did it, it had not yet been bottled and manufactured yet. Like they were the first guys to really do that
raw.
And they did it raw, and they actually lived that lifestyle. You know what I mean? And like, kudos to them. I can't imagine, what kind of parties those guys have been to or whatever. And that's great, but it's like that doesn't really exist as much anymore either. You know what I mean? Like, most of what they're doing is they're taking the shit that maybe somebody did actually achieve, somebody did actually do in the past, and they saw the success and the reaction that it got, and they're like, okay, we need more of that now because that sold really well. So how do we recreate it? Right? How do we manufacture that? How do we make that artificially? How do we synthesize that in the laboratory and inject it into the Skittles or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, like the M&Ms, right? Like there's peanuts or brownie or whatever it is. You have a brownie and a Skittle or whatever. I don't know if that would taste good, but
right. Like there's raspberries in the wild, and I guarantee they taste nothing like raspberry Skittles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'll pull it up. Chris Sation says, money is an amplifier. If you're a good person, it will amplify the good. If you're not a so good a person, shrug. And it's true. Money. It's same with content creation. It plays a part of it, whether it's actor or whatever. And but again, that's a juxtaposition to like being humble. Humble is sort of an antidote to that action of where fame can give you a big ego, a big head. Humility can bring you back down to where you're like, I need to put a break on it. I need to stop a bit.
Well, money is a frozen form of energy.
Yes.
And it's like whatever you're putting your energy into, however you as a human being direct your energy, by just, if you have money, you can now throw more energy in whatever direction that is, Yeah.
If you're a good person.
For some people, they change the world in amazing ways, and other people afford with their millions and billions of dollars only enough rope to hang themselves.
No, you're not wrong.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
some people buy dinner for the world, and some people buy a rope to hang themselves, and that's it. Like, it's like money is a frozen form of energy. You can take your energy and use it however your consciousness directs it. So, humility. Like, now I like to think if I had a lot of money, like I wouldn't, go off the deep end,
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that.
I'd like to think that. To be honest, I've never had enough money to put it to the test. But
it's the difference between it's like a difference between supporting like Feed the Homeless and a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be wrong to ride a Lamborghini for a day, but still.
Right. You're like, why not do both?
Yeah, why not do both money and power and
Skid
fame?
Row, like, hop in, let's go on a ride.
I'm going to take you out of poverty. I'm going to get you somewhere. Get a Lamborghini. I
Like,
thought of that too. Is like if if you've ever made enough money one day, you buy a car and do like what is it like do the Uber or whatever. Uber people in like this nice shiny car. It's like somebody who's never thought they'd have that opportunity, and you just kind of bus them around to their places. I thought that'd be an interesting thing to do, but they wouldn't cover the insurance for that kind of vehicle. So.
right.
But there's stuff like that where you just, if you're ever in that position, you do. Because there were stories of like Will Smith, right? Like when Will Smith was hitting off with his music and Prince of Bel-Air and all this stuff, he was giving back to family members and whatnot. And so you would feel like in that moment you would be like that, but there's also that point where that turn can happen, and it goes like completely like his life right now, like after what happened with the whole Chris Rock sort of situation.
Right.
That's
I'll tell you, man. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't make it big and get super rich when I was younger, because I probably would have been a fucking nut job. I probably would have went way too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably good that I had that restriction on myself.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little older, a little wiser. If I were to, I'd probably be thinking more in terms of like, how do I invest it wise, and that's
Yeah.
Back then I would have just been like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
Helicopter ride, whatever the fuck. Like,
woo, woo, woo. I didn't think he was supposed to drive the helicopter though. What the heck's that kid doing? Oh goodness.
I would the idea of fuck you money.
Yeah. I think every one of us would like that, because
like,
who wants
I'd love to have fuck you money? Just like, walk up to that dude who told you failed when you were a kid and just like take like a wad of cash out and just disrespectfully throw it in his face. Be like,
take that.
Pick it up, it's yours. Fuck you money.
No, it's yeah, it'd be like taking $1 out of that stack and say, "There, that's your return. Take it."
Right, exactly. Get a shitty waiter. Get a shitty waiter. Give him $100 tip. Just like.
Well, and it's in those stories, right? Of when you hear because they made a show about it, but the people who like win the lottery or whatever, and they just buy these. They just do awful stuff with it. They buy like high cars. There was like
jet skis. There's like a curse.
There's the rumor, man. There's the myth of in California. There's the myth of the super lotto curse.
Really?
Yeah, like bad things happen to people who win the fucking super lotto in California. It's kind of wild, and it makes you wonder, like, is there really a curse, or is it just that these people can now afford to hang themselves, and so they do?
It's a mentality. I think it's a mentality, because if people, even a person who comes up poor and is in some miracle gets that kind of money, they still can turn to that position of doing the gallows sort of thing. But I do think that it's a mentality issue where, again, part of it is humility and part of this other stuff where you have to realize, like, this isn't finite. I just won $1 million. Guess what? A huge chunk of it goes to the government for taxes. So you
which is the main reason I hope I never win the fucking lottery.
Or you never have to tell them. It's like it's there in the bag. It's like,
right. Exactly. If I win the lottery, first thing I do is what? Probably like go get a wax dummy of myself made. I'm saying in a fake identity, right?
Oh my god.
He's the guy you want. He's the guy you want.
I'd show up to my own funeral and then go straight from here to Fiji. And like,
not the crown.
Right. Like, nope, he died. He's dead now. No, can't tax a dead guy.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
true.
I'm late for my flight to Fiji.
No, yeah, that'd be too funny. But no, you're not wrong. It's in like investing stuff. Even if you don't have that much money now, learning how to invest, learning how to better appropriate your money, because again, it's finite, baby. It's gonna go away eventually. It's a better position than just relying on that 1% chance that you hit it. Well, actually, not even 1%. Like it's like 0.0000001%.
Right,
and you're just
like, trying to be rich. There are easier ways than being a fucking musician these days. I tell you.
Yeah,
you could be the mafia.
Right, probably easier.
You could be what?
You could be mafia.
Yeah. Because they'll get that money a lot quicker than the government will. That's for sure.
Come here. What the fuck this? Come here.
Hey, under the table. Give me the money under the table.
They always want you to listen.
Right. Then come here. Listen. Come here. Right. Those guys.
You're Italian, you know.
I'm Italian, so I know all about it.
When you have new musicians come on, it's like, hey, listen. When you come into this fold, you're part of the crew.
Yeah.
You're gonna get all Godfather on them, all that.
Man, my family's all back East Italian, so.
Oh goodness. And that Fabio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can't be more Italian than that.
Oh, yes, but not as good looking though. But blame it on the past because it's their fault that they brought a man named Fabio on as a model. And I'm like,
so that dude's, first of all, his real name is not even Fabio.
What is it?
No, his name, no. So I don't know what his real name is. But have you ever noticed that he doesn't have a last name? He's just Fabio.
Yeah, that's
like
all you
Madonna?
need.
Right, exactly. It's like Madonna. So that was totally like a marketing decision on his part.
Yeah.
Which I get it, Fabio would have been a cool name if it wasn't for that fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Screw you!
Yeah, right. And just every time I think he's finally fading into irrelevance, he'll get in a fight with George Clooney.
Oh goodness!
He'll fucking get hit in the face with a bird on a roller coaster, and it's headline news, and I'm just fuck, he's back again. Damn it!
Mother trucker.
Fucking guy, dude.
I just want him to go away. Just let him leave.
He's still career. He still has a career. Fuck. What is he 80 now? Jesus.
Yeah, when his name is called, he appears with a chiseled chin and the wind blowing his hair. He's like, you called me, and it's like, oh, come on, son of a bitch.
Right.
Yeah, it's like calling Beetlejuice.
Show up on a new trash novel. This time he's a pirate.
Yeah, he'd look pretty good for it too. Honey, put the book down. For goodness sake, put the book down. But it's understandable because hey, it came before you, or at least came during, and you're just a kid or whatever at the time, and I
used to get shit for that, dude. No
you're just like, what? Your mom's just like, why can't you be that Fabio? Why can't you be that Fabio?
I know. I remember, yesterday, man. The kids at school, man, fucking Fabio. Fabio. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, but just think of it this way though. If you get mistaken for it, you know what? It's like you have it's like 1 second of fame right there. It's like, yes, for 1 second, I got remembered. I'm not that Fabio, but I'm close enough.
I guess one motivation for me to ever get famous, and actually, this is probably one of the biggest motivations, is so that I can fucking finally take my name back. I'm Fabio. Yeah. You're buried in the search engine now.
Yeah.
Fabio, who comes up? Me, motherfucker.
That's right. He's getting all for real. You know what?
Want to fuck you money in his
That's right. This Fabio don't play. He's gonna break it down in a rap battle. Come on.
Oh no! I love that.
I don't know, man. I pick my battles, man.
Hey, listen, you're not dealing with very much. He'd probably lose too. So
wouldn't that be ill if Fabio was like a sick battle rhymer? Fabio just starts freestyling and he's really good.
Yeah. The show that came out a while years ago though, it had different celebrities on, but they did have one that was pretty good. At least that one I knew was Wayne Brady, right? Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady's dope. Wayne
Brady. But he is good like that because he's been in the improv business for a very long time.
That's right.
And he just comes up with
genius,
that.
So.
Oh yeah,
would be good at that for sure.
When you can improv it like that, forget it. You drop the mic and you walk out. You can't.
He breathes it. It's just he inhales and exhales it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to freestyle battle Wayne Brady.
He's so good.
He'd probably whoop my ass.
What was that show that he was on? Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
good.
But that showed his chops. Yeah, that showed his chops, and then of course he's been on with other stuff with Drew Carey and the crew because there was more than that. Yeah, and but I mean he's just a good singer in his own right, like his voice.
He really is.
The way he can like make up songs just like on the spot like that. Yeah, that's like I said, I've known people who've had that talent really strong, and I have my own form of talent, and I recognize that it ain't that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's its own thing. Like,
yeah.
Shout out to AJ and Funk Jam. That guy's good too.
Well, yeah.
He's a Vegas local.
So yeah,
really?
Vegas, this local thing in Vegas. Every month they do this thing called the Funk Jam.
Really?
It's like a bunch of just like some of the towns, like really good solid musicians just show up there, and they just do the whole night where everybody just gets on stage and just makes it up.
Nice.
Top tier Vegas
just
musicians.
Improv like Funk Jam, like which that's something I could totally do that like as a drummer.
Yeah.
As a freestyler, not so much. I would never attempt that. No.
Yeah, but it gets you. I think it's a portion of that sort of thing can allow you to flow in a sense, right? Like you can just add fills, you can do this or that, tricks on a drum, that sort of thing. When you're allowed a space, right, whether it be music or whatever, when you're allowed a space that's a lot of free. Now, of course, the opposite is true as well, right? If you're in a box, if you're contained in a box and all this stuff, there's a challenge to it, and that can bring creativity with that as well. But there's a it's sort of like two parts, right? There's the enclosed, boxed in creativity, like the indie creativity, right? Where you don't have a lot of money, you've only got this much time, and you've got to be creative with what you got. And there's the free flow or the free form where you're wide open in the field and you can go wherever. And so there's these two points of creativity where they kind of like, they don't clash, but they make up what creates, at least from my perspective, what creativity is right, is because sometimes people do great under stress in a small confined box and with limited budget or whatever. And some people do a whole lot better when they have a field to work in, basically.
Right. I mean, I'm coming from the having to work with what you got.
Yeah.
DIY.
Like I'm a very DIY kind of guy, and I'm just like, people are like, oh, do you have a Neve? It's like, no, I don't have a Neve. I went to a junkyard and stole a Neve transformer and fucking wired it up to the breadboard. All right, that's my Neve. Like my shit's like the Millennium Falcon. All right, like it looks like ghetto as fuck, but it I'll fly as fast as any ship in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Big Block Plymouth.
Yeah, Plymouth. It's Big Block.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's a. Yeah, no, you're right.
Still a foreigner. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, that's.
My Filipino ass is slipping.
Nice guy, very handsome.
Yeah. Show us your face. Show us your face.
You get it.
Hey, look, I've seen a bunch of those videos where people like the TikTok stuff, right? They do all the short stuff and they show all this weird thing where like, pretty women and all this stuff, like show us your face, that sort of thing. It's crazy stuff out there, man. Yeah, but I can fake it a little, all right? I can fake an accent a little. I'm all right there.
Just but, like, I will pray for you.
I will pray for you. I will pray for you.
Now tell me credit card number so I can have money. Wait a minute, you're a spammer. You can't do that.
Well, right. So yeah, exactly. So I'm coming from the school of thought of like work with what you got.
Yeah.
Make no excuses for what you don't have. You know what I'm saying? Because you always have something. But also, another thing though for producers is like, as a producer, you got to be multidisciplined. You got to be kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But like, you want to make sure that you master at least one. You don't want to try to be a master of everything because then you're just a jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah.
Which is why, there was a time when I was like, should I try to be a rapper? And then I finally was like, yeah, no, I shouldn't. Just because, like, would it be cool? Yes, but it's like, damn, like, there's only so many hours in a day to practice and be good at everything that you do. And it's like, eventually, you're going to have to, like, choose something over another thing,
Yeah.
And that's already hard for me, to, like, have to, like...
Just keeping it real.
Right,
It's like
Plus,
the
there's
begin.
no shortage of rappers, man. You know, there's no shortage of rappers.
No.
Yeah, it's sort of like Eminem's beginning, right? Where that famous scene in the 8 Mile, where he's on that stage and he's doing that free rap or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
it's sort of like that feeling, but nowadays it feels like Eminem just get it. You know, he may have. I think some people have praised this new album that came out, but I mean, NMM has had this personality issue for quite some time, and it's just like, so it can be like, it almost feels like to me, right, like old bands, like what is it, like Kiss and the Rolling Stones and stuff. There is a point where you you play past your prime, right?
Mm,
Not everyone. Paul McCartney is still out there. He's still playing it, and people still love him. So you gotta give him credit for that. He's like 80 something years old. Ringo too.
You wonder.
But yeah, but you have people who play past their prime, and it's sort of like there's a time like Elton John. Like Elton John was doing his like whole worldwide tour as like Yellow Brick. I think it was called like the Yellow Brick Road or whatever. And
Yeah.
he ended. And I don't think he's done another tour after that. There's a point where you kind of, as an artist, you kind of have to make that decision where you kind of have to end one road and start another, because you can't. Time does not allow you to continue ad infinitum on the same road. There are so many variable things in the world, and you just do until you hit another point.
well, there's something to be said for quit while you're ahead.
Yeah. Yep.
And on a high note.
End on a high note, right? Don't trash your legacy on your way out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I mean, personally, I lost respect for a lot of artists and a lot of musicians that I used to really look up to and think were really great.
Yeah.
Eminem sort of being one of those. Because, like sometimes, and I guess it's hard for me to say this because I'm very outspoken about my opinions and things, but
Right.
like sometimes artists, when it comes to like politics and things like that, sometimes they really do just need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. But
just like shut the fuck up, like
especially when you don't know,
right? Especially,
assume stuff.
Especially when you don't know what you're talking about, or you're just out of touch with shit. Like like Eminem, that dude's probably rich as fuck right now. Like, you know what I mean?
Gosh, yes.
And we're talking about a guy coming out and saying a bunch of like controversial shit, who's like trying to like cast shame on other people, when actually like think about the shit he got famous for.
Yeah.
Like he would not get away with that. Like if the real Marshall Mathers came out in 2024, like they'd arrest him for that probably. Like,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like here he is, this dude who's all big and famous from that as a legacy, coming out and like talking shit about politics, and it's just like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Just
Yeah.
Like it's painful to watch, man. It's painful to watch.
Yeah, and the big block Plymouth has something here. He says fans still pay. It is up to the band when it is time. You risk your legacy, but if you still love doing it, go for it. Yeah, and again, the big differences between say Kiss and Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney still does it because he enjoys the and people, and he knows people still loves the Beatles music, and he still plays that. He still enjoys making music, whether it's playing his old stuff or making new stuff. But the Kiss is like I think one of their members is gone, and they're getting older and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a point where you just kind of you risk your life. Yeah, and it sucks, but it's a deciding factor.
Does it though? Because when you're if, like Kiss, what are those guys like? How old are they now? Like
I don't know. I don't know.
They're in their 70s. They're in their 80s. I mean, like,
yeah.
Dude, like come on, like they had a fantastic career. Now they get to just like sit back and enjoy their fucking money and like what are you gonna do at 80 that's gonna top your 30s? You know what I mean? Like
it's that's where stuff like tribute bands, right? Like I can't tell you the amount of tribute bands I've seen for like Pink Floyd, there's Kiss ones, all these tribute bands, and they tribute bands are bands made of different people, but they got together because they chat is better over here on Rumble. Well, all right, Station. Okay, I could still respond to you over there. But the thing of it is, right, is there's a I lost my point. Thanks a lot. Kiss's live show was still was still hard to beat. I've never seen a Kiss show. I'm just saying I've heard other people talk about their latest one or whatever, previous one, and it just felt like they sound like it wasn't that great. And again, it's up to the artist to choose that time, but sometimes it can be clouded by because they think they still go, and it hurts when if you have a band, one of the band members dies, like the original band member dies, and you have to fill that void. It kind of sucks when that stuff happens, but there's a time
you gotta make the choice. Do you even try? Should you even do that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You know who did it right? You know who did it super right?
but
Willie Nelson, man.
Willie Nelson
Did it right.
Yeah.
That dude just kept it real up until the end, man. But yeah, I mean, you're right. When it's different for every artist too. When do you throw in the towel? You know what I mean? For a band like Kiss, it's kind of like that. That's the thing that they're doing is sort of I don't know. That's kind of a dying scene now. Unfortunately, I mean, rock was cool and all, but rock is still cool. It's I don't know. Honestly, the only reason I'm talking shit about Kiss is because they piss me off with the whole fucking. Pissed me off with the whole.
Gene Simmons?
They pissed me off with the vaccine thing. Honestly, if they didn't do that, I'd be like, yeah, keep going, Kiss. They did. They pissed me off. So now I'm like, yeah, maybe they should just retire.
Oh, they did retire.
No, I don't know if they did or not. Honestly, I don't follow them much anymore. But that's why, because my friend bought a ticket. I got an older friend who's real into Kiss, and he bought a ticket to go to the show, and then they were like, oh, we're canceling it. Or no, they were saying you have to have a vaccine to go.
Oh, that's right.
They made their fans have a vaccine to go, and so my friend couldn't go, and he was all bummed out, and I was just I officially don't like Kiss anymore. So I have my bias on that, so probably I'm not the guy to ask.
I think I would have done almost. I mean, it probably would have been possible. You either do a concert through the computer, because I know that probably on laws or whatever they couldn't do it. You either do on the computer, right, where you just have the band perform on a stage and it's filmed it's live and people can tune in and stuff, or you just have it how you remember the drive-in theaters were. You could still be on the outskirts of the drive-in theater and watch a free movie, so you could have something like that with the band. But it is. So he's saying they are done touring. Okay, so they are done touring is what he's saying.
Yeah, so last year that was their last. That's their final.
Well, that's
show.
good. That's good. It's sometimes you have to say, "Good job, guys. Good, you finally picked the right time."
It's on a high note. Unfortunately, that particular band, in my opinion, did not end it on a high note.
No.
But I mean, I was one of their fans, so
right. I don't think they could have ended on a high note either. They're so old. Going on a high note just kills their voice.
They're too tired for that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Another guy who maybe could have ended it a little earlier was Elvis, right?
Well, that's
young though.
Elvis Presley. Well, I mean, that's the thing though. He was he was on top of the world, and then the world just kind of watched him just turn into a fat guy and sort of fade out.
I think there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I know that movie Elvis came out and it kind of exaggerated some stuff. We aren't sure of the truth of what happened.
That's true.
But I do think there was stuff behind the scenes that maybe he couldn't because he owed money, and when you owe money to, like you were saying earlier with the music industry, they pay millions and millions of dollars, but that's sort of banking on your future worth. Right. And so, in that essence, that could have been the case. But I mean,
a lot of that is mafia, by the way.
Yeah,
a lot of that. I mean, look at P. Diddler, right?
P. Diddler.
When you think about that kind of shit, and listen, I've been in LA for a long time. That's who runs a lot of the business, right? It's a lot of gangsters and drug dealers, and this there is a huge criminal element to all of that as well. So it could be that he owed, or look at Frank Sinatra, another guy who's the mafia,
the Rat Pack. Yeah.
So it's true. We don't know all the behind the scenes shit, and we probably never will. We probably don't want to know, The less you know, the better, huh?
Yeah.
Don't ask any questions.
Hey, I'm over here. You respect You respect, all right? Get out of here. You respect, get out of here.
Right. So we're gonna make you a big star, okay? We got this guy Frankie. You're gonna love this guy. He's got a beautiful voice. You're gonna love this guy.
Big BBP says Elvis had a drop, then a big comeback, then he died, drugged out like MJ and Brits. Yeah, I think that was part of it too. But again, we don't know if there were situations behind the scenes where money was involved, and it could have been that, it could have been this, it could have been, and like drugs were part of it too. So we'll never really know.
That's a big one.
And
I think you got like your 27 clubs.
Oh yeah. What was it?
They definitely quit in their prime.
Amy Winehouse.
Kurt Cobain. Who was Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, I believe, was another one. Janis Joplin was another one.
Really?
Yeah, Janis Joplin was another one.
Was very young.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
It's how old was Tupac when he got taken out?
That's a good question. He was in his 20s, I think. I don't even think he was in. I don't even think he or Biggie were in their 30s by the time they got
yeah.
So,
but yeah, because not even I 25. So he was short. He was short of that. But there's still it's still a thing, like, again, that plays into the fame factor, right? Like, either gets too heavy on you, too stressful that you have to take drugs in order to survey it, or that becomes part of the ordeal of being, famous and you have a lot of money to do all this stuff. It just goes to show that there's this drop off of, yeah, I get it. You make music, it does well, it gets out there and it brings that fame, but there's also that point where you have to pump the brakes and that humility faction. And I think that's the only thing that may save future artists, if they don't want to fall in that trap, is having a little humility and maybe investing their money and doing better with it. But you know how it goes. It's just and he says dying young is good for the legacy, bad for the person. Exactly. Elvis is still famous after all these years. Michael Jackson,
money off of him.
Yeah, his wife is still Michael Jackson.
Cares about it though, right?
That's true. But and the funny thing, his daughter died too. Marie.
Lisa Marie.
I will tell you this though. One thing I think that leads a lot of musicians to drugs and like that whole trap is being on tour, man. Like, being on tour is rough. Like, I mean, you're in a different town every night. You're traveling every night. Some nights you're spending in a van. Some nights you're spending in a bus. Some nights you're like, you know what I mean? Like it's you're working long hours. You probably are kind of lonely, unless you like bring your family with you on tour or something.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like I've been there where it's like, after each show, it's the easiest thing to do is just like go get freaking smashed and fall asleep so you can wake up at 5 a.m. and get back on the road or whatever it is.
That's depressing.
People do it. Well, that's the thing. Musicians who are on tour for long periods of time, and not all, but I mean, if you understand the lifestyle of a touring musician, it's very difficult. It's very lonely. You don't get a lot of sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always around new people every day. You're in a new town every day. You don't really get a chance to make too many like lasting or deep relationships. Yeah. Depending on what the band is or who you're touring with, you might have a lot of adoring fans, right? But like, you're not staying at their house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And when you said that, it kind of reminded me of the situation of when the Beatles had stopped touring because of what happened in the Philippines. What happened in the Philippines when they were in a tour there for the Philippines? They ran into some issue with the I think the Queen there or whatever at the time, and they were lucky to get out alive. But then they were like, we're done with touring. We're done with all this stuff, because again, you add on the touring all the time, tired and all that.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was the Philippines. And the thing of it is that once they were done, they came back in the studio and they made Sgt. Pepper's, and they were like, why don't we send the record out there on tour rather than us be on tour? Because they got the idea from Elvis when he sent his, what was it, like his Longstead Cadillac or whatever it was. But it's sort of in the essence is where now as a creator, yes, you can go out there, yes, you can tour, but as you're stating, there is a downside to that factor, right? It becomes less enjoyable and more like work. And it is work to be a musician, don't get me wrong. But when it becomes less about enjoying the ride, the process, and more of like I got to do this at this time and this, then you become disillusioned with it, and people can pick up on that after a while, and that's I think that's part of where they turn to drugs as well, because drugs can be a mask in order to hide that faction.
Well, right, it's self-medicating, And
Yeah,
again, people don't see it because once again, they don't know the artist personally. They know the
yeah,
manufactured image of the artist. They know the branding of the artist. They know
yeah.
music of the artist. They know the work of the artist, but the artist themselves is just a normal, very normal person who's put in this sort of extraordinary situation.
Mhm.
And I mean, like personally, I don't know if I would go on tour again.
Right.
Like I don't know if I just don't know if I'm cut out for that
Yeah.
right now.
You
Like
have
I have
cats.
cats. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying.
They will be pissed.
My
That's
cats
the
miss me, and I feel bad about it. I know that.
that's
But
the best excuse, because people will like, you show the cat videos and like, look, these two cats right here, they'll be so sad I leave. I cannot leave them, and people are like, oh,
I remember my dad would go on tour a lot when I was a kid. And it was
wow.
just like long stints of time where it was just like my dad was not there, and I didn't think
Mm.
about it much as a kid because I was just a kid.
Yeah.
But as an adult now, I think about it, and I'm like, man, what would that have been like? Being like, well, I gotta go on tour, like, see you, be back in like 4 months. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
just like miss all this time with your family. Like,
Yeah.
I know that weighs on a lot of dudes. Yeah, right. I think a lot of it's a lack of sleep. Think about
Yeah.
it. You're traveling to different time zones, bouncing
Oh
around from
god.
corners of the globe. You're jet lagged as fuck, but you're
Mm-mm.
still expected to like be up for sound check and play a show
Mm-hmm.
and give it your all and please the crowd. And then afterwards, if you have time, there might be parties or something you go to. But most of the time, that's the thing. Once again, everyone imagines, oh, they're musicians, they're always partying. And man, you try fucking partying after like a 12-hour flight, and then a sound check, and then you got to go play a show, and then like that you got to be like back on the road the next day to do it all over again. You're not gonna party for shit, man. You're gonna go to your fucking room. You can see if the bass player scored anything to help you sleep better. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
oh
that's
god.
what it is, man. That's why a lot of musicians get kind of pulled into the drug thing. Next thing you know, it's like they're depending on that because it's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like I'm so tired. Let me get a little something to perk me up here so I can play the show.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm all fucking wired. Now I need to go to sleep. Let me do something else to get that straightened
Oh
out.
my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then next thing you know, they're a fucking hot mess, dude. And that's what it is. That I think a lot of it just has to do with the touring lifestyle. You
Yep.
know, no
And
friends. Your friends are not there. Your family's not there. Like,
mhm.
hopefully you're cool with the dudes in your band or whatever. Because sometimes, a lot of times, bands start beefing with each other on tour,
Mhm.
which
Drama.
right. So now you don't even have your friends there. You have like some fucking jerk. You have 5 angry girlfriends that don't come out.
Hey, you be legend, what up? What up, you
You
be
be
legend?
legend.
Yeah. But no, you're not. I mean, no, you're not wrong, and I think that's the changing factor of what separates a real artist, a real musician, whatever, to someone who's just manufactured and synthetic.
Right.
And it's a tough thing, but at the end of the day, it's more about the creation of, rather than just the after effects, money and all that stuff. And I've always been about, for this deal, for Darachat, is like the conversation with other people is the main point. Everything else is a bonus, because I can't control the extra stuff, but I can, at least in some way, and bringing people on, setting the schedule and all that stuff, because in the world right now, it seems there's a lot more fighting and a lot more yelling at each other than there is just sitting down at the table and just having a conversation about whatever. And I do appreciate people who come on and are at least willing to take the chance, because I can be easily overlooked. And people can look at my numbers and say, no, he ain't worth it. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's
Yeah,
yeah.
they could do the same thing for us.
Yeah,
That's true.
exactly. They can do the same thing for you, and
Never
and
turn
it's
down a meeting.
Never turn down a meeting is what I was brought up to believe.
yeah, like if you bring in a script to a movie or whatever, and all that stuff. You have to handle rejection well, otherwise you're gonna slap yourself in the face a lot. Um, no more rejection, no more rejection. Um, but anyway, guys, it is the top of the hour, and I think we'll end it here tonight. It's been a great time, but before we go ahead and like last time. The links are in the description below, but go ahead and promote yourselves again if you'd like.
All right. Well, I'm Data313, music producer. This is Dee Frank, singer-songwriter.
Nice.
We're both musicians and artists, and together we run something we call the Great Underground, which is, I guess, a collective of artists and musicians who all kind of pool together our different talents and make a 24/7 streaming radio show as well as
Yeah.
art. Pretty soon we plan to be doing events here in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And we're just a collective of musicians and artists who just try to keep it real and make art for the sake of making art, not
there you go.
This other wacky
Great
shit.
art.
Great art,
Yeah.
not for the sake of all this other wacky shit we've been talking about, but
Yeah.
for the purpose of music and
Yeah.
bringing
Hey,
something
Bulldozer.
to the world,
Yeah, no, and that's great because if you're, hey, what up, Bulldozer? If you're having, again, what we were talking about earlier, if you're having fun with it and enjoying the process, you are in a better position than most other people are because they don't or they end up not into, and that kind of sucks.
Right. It brings me to the old Willie Nelson quote, right? Back in my day, we used to smoke weed because it gets you high, you dig?
And now he sells it for a living, so there you go.
Exactly, the same thing. We make music for the sake of making music, right?
Yeah. But anyway, if guys, their links are in the description below. At least the ones I could find. Of course, they have their Instagram one, which isn't the Great Underground, but they said they'll be looking to change. Yeah. So, but at least you have ways to find them. And again, guys, from my end, because it's a little short, if you wouldn't mind, whether liking, whether sharing, whether following, whether leaving a comment, well, all of it or just one of it, it helps because I get more people on like the Underground and more people like UB Legend and so many others. At this point, I've talked to over 80 plus people, right? I've talked to, like in the 8-month period time, I've talked to over 80 plus people. So, and I'm looking to do more for the rest of the month and the rest of the months
That's good.
leading up to the end of the year. Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Dara.
Oh no, thank you for accepting it. Yeah. You can call me Dara for short. It's fine too, because I know some
Was
people.
it Daramouthe? I did it again.
No, it's fine. You could just say Dara.
Do a free for you, Dara.
My cousin, he come to you. He come to you. Oh, also don't forget. You're welcome. Also, if you want to have the same opportunity to come on, right? Go to the link tree down below. You'll find links to where you can find me, whether it be email, whether it be Twitter X, whether it be whatever. Come find me, DM me, whatever, and we can get started. Or if you don't want to do that, leave a comment in either YouTube or Rumble because that's probably a little easier than going to the link tree. But anyway, anything helps, engagement or otherwise, because it helps me have on great people like this, great artists like this, finding their way in the world and making great stuff, and that's the point of what they do. But before we go, there is something I do at the end with, at least with the people I have on, is called Questions from a Hat. Now, obviously, it's a two-parter. Part of it is coming from the actor studio, James Lipton. He would ask questions for his guests that were on. Same type of question, didn't change. And then the other one is what you'll know is Scenes from Hat, right? Scenes from Hat, they take out scenes from the Whose Line Is It Anyway? They take a scene out and they try to reenact that scene. And so I kind of mashed those two things together and made Questions from a Hat. And so I bought a hat from Rumble and all this stuff. And there's some questions in there. So you guys get 2 freebies. And if chat wants more than those 2 freebies, they got to pay a rent. That's just, even if it's $1, even if it's just $1, you got to pay a rent for another one beyond the 2. So anyway, I'm not looking. I'm swishing through. What am I going to get? Okay, I got one. All right, got one right here. Let's see what it says. Here we go. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you at the pearly gates?
I think I kind of already know what he would say.
You got it. Come on, man. You gotta say it though.
Gotcha.
You have to answer, Dee. You have to answer.
For me, it would be well done.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, his was funnier, but I mean, yours is pretty good.
Funny guy right here.
All right, come out of here.
Hey, Tony's back. Tony's back.
There
He is right there.
He's Italian now.
Right. Well, I'm Italian, so my God's Italian. You know what I'm saying?
He's wearing a
bull,
slick
you're
coat.
gonna be a bull, you know. That's all.
No.
He's wearing a slick coat like Fonzie and Happy Days, like, hey.
Right, God, we were watching you at your 20s. That was some show you put on there, huh? Get out of here, you.
Get out of here. All right, next one.
All right.
Let me see what we can come up with. Let's do this one right here. This one, this little yellow one. I gotta open it up. All right, what is it? Criminal ball. All right. All right. Well, here's one. What word makes you laugh every time you say it?
Hold on. What word makes me laugh?
Damn, I have a few of those, man. Like, let me think.
I don't.
You go first.
Oh
you go
my
first.
goodness, I don't know. What word makes me laugh when I think of it?
First one that comes to mind. I have a few of these, but the first one that comes to mind for me is indubitably.
Okay, that's
Indubitably. Drum roll. Indubitably. Yes. You try to do Snickle Fritz. Snickle Fritz. Hey, yeah, I made up that one, Snickle Fritz. That's one of mine. I'll tell you.
Expeditiously.
Expeditiously. Oh goodness.
Do it expeditiously.
I will. There's one I have that I heard from a show. So there's that show, that 70s show, right? You know, all this stuff. So there was a scene where they're sitting in their circle, right, and they're doing that whole thing.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Michael, there's one point where Michael says he's laughing, you know, because of the getting high or whatever, but he also is laughing, saying, guys, have you ever heard the word pickle weasel? And he's like, he can't stop laughing. Is every time he says pickle weasel, like pickle weasel, he's just laughing so hard. That's one of the ones. Like every time I see pickle weasel, it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious. It's such a stupid word.
That makes me laugh every time.
What?
Perchance.
Perchance.
Perchance, really?
Just use perchance like really gratuitously. Perchance.
Oh.
And if you did, perchance.
Yeah, it sounds very snobbish when you say it, like, perchance.
Exactly.
Oh, what is that? Perchance.
There you go.
Right, the snobby sounding words like perchance and indubitably make me laugh.
Perchance you're an idiot, but you know.
That's perfect.
Oh man, that is. I'm gonna write that one down for later. But anyway, guys.
Makes me laugh.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's making me laugh too. But thank you guys for coming on. I do appreciate it. And you guys are always welcome back. This is not a one-time deal because the conversation doesn't end with the one time. There's always more to talk about. That's the funny thing, is like a conversation. Oh, all right. Never mind. We got another one. All right. All right. We got another one. Before we go. All right. Go pick another one. If it's the same one, I'll put it back and it won't count.
Okay.
Okay. I got one. This is another yellow one, but it's not the same one. All right. Let me open it up. What does it say? It says, what is freedom of speech from your perspective? What is
From
my perspective?
Yes, from your perspective. What is freedom of speech from your perspective? What does it mean, I guess? I should have probably clarified that one. I should have put, yeah, well, both of you. You give your perspective on what it means to you.
I guess, well, you can say whatever you want without repercussion. However,
always a however.
You still gotta, you still gotta be responsible, you know.
Right.
Freedom, you can say whatever you want. Don't be an idiot.
I mean, freedom of speech is like any other kind of freedom, right? Like freedom doesn't guarantee safety.
Yeah.
In fact, it probably guarantees the opposite. So it's just like, you know, like, yeah, okay, we get in our car, we have the freedom to go as fast as we want, right? And that's not necessarily the smartest thing to do, right? So yeah, I mean, to me, freedom of speech is being able to say, specifically, like if you want to get like legal about it, freedom of speech is being able to say whatever the fuck you want without reprisal from the government.
Right.
You're not going to get in any legal trouble for saying whatever the fuck you want. However, there is the age-old, you know, sort of
consequence,
normal reality of if you say some stupid shit and you piss some people off. Well, yeah, freedom of speech, but you know,
Not freedom of.
Not freedom from consequences.
Yeah. There you go.
Yo, Tony, over here. Perchance, come over here. I've been hearing you say some stuff.
Right, so I guess that's my answer is like, you can say whatever you want and the government's not going to get involved.
Yeah. Well, you would hope not anyway, because you've seen the stuff where they do get involved. Right. Like in the UK, right? The UK, they have those things where you say something on Facebook and they come to your door. It's just fudging ridiculous.
Yeah, right. That's wild.
Right. I mean, there's all kinds of conversations to be had there about like calls for violence and things like that.
Well,
like, I think it's all bullshit. I think the concept of hate speech is bullshit because next thing you know, it's gonna be hate thought.
Yeah.
And you're like wrong think, like, oh, that's a thought crime. You're not allowed to think that. So I don't believe in any of that shit. I think it's just like you can say whatever you want. Like if other people listen to what you say and it causes them to do something. There is actually one exception to that. I think lying. If you lie to people, like fraud, right?
Right.
Like if you lie, if you like knowingly lie to people, like CNN, and it causes problems, like I think that might be where I draw the limit. Like if you like lie to like manipulate people into doing something, or if you lie to like steal from people, I think that might be where I draw my limit on freedom of speech, because that goes beyond speech now. Now we're actually like, now we're actually manipulating people, right? Like that's where it starts to actually affect other people in negative ways. So like beyond them just being offended, like you're actually like making them act. So I don't know, like it's an abstract thing to really like get into though. So
I'll give my perspective on it quickly. Is because I did a solo stream talking about just freedom in general, right? What is the thought of freedom, and freedom of speech is part of that. But the issue is trying to pertain it down, because because under a legal stance, there's some things you can't say. You can't do calls for violence, whatever, because that is. But freedom of speech, in the freedom of to speak freely, right? That wouldn't be the case, though, because that is speaking freely. Even if you were to be liable, even if you were to call for violence, those are speaking freely, even if nothing comes from it, right? Because you could call for violence and the day could just go as is. But my thought of what freedom of speech is that you cannot be, what's the word? You cannot be pushed to say or not say something. Right. That's what speaking freely or freedom of speech is that you cannot be pushed to say or not say something, because at the end of the day, if someone tries to control what you say or what not to say, then that's no longer a freedom. You are now being forced to whatever. But that's just me condensing down from my perspective of what I see what freedom of speech is. And that's just by going over on a logical stance. But anyway, before we get into philosophical, it's getting time for bedtime. So thank you guys so much. You're always welcome back. And thank you, chat, for being here. Next week's schedule isn't going to be coming up until tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon. And there's a whole row of people coming. Actually, starting Monday, I'll probably have a whole full week till like the next week. Because I have that Saturday. I think I have that Saturday and that Sunday filled with people as well. So
nice.
It wasn't on purpose. Sometimes people just can't do a weekday like yourself. So I work with what I have. But I thank you all for being. Oh goodness. Thanks, Dara. Thanks to you. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for being here. And again, as always, and don't forget to mute your mics. As always, we end with a pogo called One Day With You by Pogo. Have a great night, everyone, and see you next week. Good night, everyone. Bye.